Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys a little bit about being calm when we are doing our maxes in the gym. And I want people to understand there's a difference between being in a competition, right? Being in a competition and hitting a max in the gym. Now, you'll get people who will say, but Jason, what do you mean be calm? What do you mean not psych up? So you're saying it should just be not really a max. It's like, no, it will be a max. In other words, like you see me doing that 552 box squat right there, right? That was pretty much a max because I came in and went up 20 pounds that same workout, and what happened? I got stapled. I could not lift it. I could not lift it. So is that a max or not? If I completely failed and missed the 20-pound increase by at least 10 pounds because of the speed and everything, even the struggle controlling it on the eccentric, was that not a max? Okay. Same thing, these deficit deadlifts. I think I hit first a 605 and then a 625. Well, the 605 is quite clean. It's very, very clean. That would be a training max. Then I do the 625 and it looked a little sloppier, right? So these are true maxes. They're maxes for the day on these lifts. Same thing. Trying to do the box squat with that buffalo bar. Not buffalo bar, the cambered bar. Rackable camber bar. 535 was all that I had. I had to push as hard as I could. Just watch me on it. And because the weight swings on you, it's harder than doing a normal bar. That weight swings, pulls me forward. That's a grinder. Okay, we're hitting true maxes when we use a system like this, but they're not psyched up. And I want to bring home a couple points of different people who point this stuff out. Okay. Louis Simmons, when discussing conjugate training, even in the original West Side Book of Methods, specifically tells you don't prepare yourself for your maxes, you'll burn out. He doesn't go into a lot of detail, though. He tells you don't prepare for them. What does preparing for a max mean? Thinking about it the night before, getting up that morning saying, oh man, I got to get ready to max out. I got to get in my zone, bro. I need a jam to music. I need a pre-workout. Okay, all these things to psych yourself up. That's what we mean by preparing. No, you walk in and you lift a max. Okay? You walk in, you warm up, you ramp up, and you hit a max. Okay, I don't do pre-workouts. Now people will say, Jason, but you drink coffee. I would drink coffee if I quit lifting today. Okay? I've been drinking coffee since I was 13 years old. I drink coffee because I'm a caffeine addict and I love coffee. So people are like, but do you need it to work out? I don't know. Probably. I need coffee to even be able to type to you without screaming that I want you to die. I mean, I'm a caffeine addict. Like, before I've had caffeine, I probably hate you first thing in the morning. Okay? So it's largely irrelevant. I'm probably likely to get more angry when training and psych myself up if I didn't have coffee, because it makes me irritable and grumpy. So over to the point, that's irrelevant. I don't believe in pre-workouts. I've covered in the past why. I've covered the scientific data on it. Pre-workouts are not useful. They're not of value. They're a ripoff. And we also come over to the point of they create psychological arousal. We've seen Matt Perryman actually write in his book Squat Every Day of maintaining a low degree of psychological arousal, that there was even emerging data, and I think he eventually wanted to get further into researching it. We'll see what comes from that showed that being psyched up reduces recovery. In other words, if you lift exactly 500 pounds calm versus if you lift at least 500 pounds when psyching yourself up, the recovery elements to your nervous system and your body are higher. They take more time and more resources to recover from the 500 where you were really excited and psychologically aroused than if you just lifted the exact same weight calmly. The body registered it as a higher stressor. I've even seen guys like Christian Thibodeau suggest that a high degree of psychological arousal could even reduce performance. Now, do I think he's necessarily right? I don't think that he is, but he could be. It's something worth looking into later. In other words, being calm is good when we're lifting heavy. It lets us be mindful in the moment. You know, a lot of people say, what do you mean? I'm a lot stronger when I psych up. No, if you need to be psyched up to be strong, we have major things to work on. Because look at what you guys see me lifting calm. I'm not screaming, yelling. I'm just walking over and lifting the weight. I have no music playing. No pre-workouts. Right? Just come in and lift the weight. Either you're strong enough to lift a weight or you aren't. All right? So what do we do in the conjugate system? For example, we rotate max lifts. We do max effort lifts of all different types. And people will ask things like, well, why do you use this bar? What's the benefit of using this bar for a max? Why are you using that instead of a standard bar? The benefit is that it's not the standard bar. If it has a different center of gravity or the bar path is slightly different, we're maxing on a different exercise. So that carries over to your main exercise. It still builds intramuscular coordination. And it teaches you to strain, and it teaches you to continually come in and hit a new exercise. It also reduces emotional attachment. Because you guys will notice what happens when I do hit a classic lift. When you guys see me do a back squat or a normal conventional deadlift or a bench press, you notice I'm way more excited. I get up and I make sounds after. I tend to say things you'll hear me on the camera if I have the volume up, psyching myself up a little bit because I can't help myself. Classic lifts are lifts that we hold any attachment to because there's a strength standard on them that we're judged on. Any lift in which we are judged on. Right? So that's one of the things. You're this close, you're up with the buffalo bar. It's a different barbell. This wouldn't count as a classic lift. It's close. We're not judged the same on it. We don't hold the same weight on it in our subconscious mind. Okay? We tend to get excited, even when we're doing our best not to, with the lifts that we really care about or that we know will be judged on, or that have a strength standard which we're compared to other people. But a slight variation is a different movement, isn't it? If I use a different barbell, or change the range of motion 1 inch, or use chains, it's a different lift. Reduce our psychological arousal. Then we can just come in and just focus upon body awareness, bracing, getting tight, driving through, because all those things carry through. I mean, I want you to think about that. Watch that box squat. Is there any doubt in your mind that if that was done with a straight bar and no box, that same movement pattern and mechanics wouldn't carry over? Of course it would. That maxing on that still prepares you to max under a normal back squat. Same thing with this deficit deadlift. Okay, pulling it an extra inch out of the bottom, right? Adding an inch to the hardest part of the range of motion. Well, that still carries over, but it's slightly different. And we'll get into all that later, the other stuff. I mean, I've done plenty of videos on that as far as overuse injuries and everything else. But one of the things that we're avoiding with this is psychological arousal. Now, people will say, why? Because it burns you out. And Louis Simmons even pointed that out in his thing, that you get burned out in the session. And I've seen it with lifters. I've had clients who don't get this, and I explain this to them, and they're like, I spend the whole day preparing for that max, and then they're jamming to music and preparing themselves, which you're not supposed to do, getting in their zone. Okay, what happens when they miss a lift? I have found it's exactly, Louis Simmons is absolutely right, and I've watched this with one of my clients, who's currently a former client, by the way, who did exactly that. Would psych himself up, and what would happen? When he would miss a lift, he would get really upset, and he could not finish his workout. People say, what do you mean he couldn't finish his workout? He would be so upset that he couldn't even perform his sets of 10. Like if he could normally do 185 pound for 10 reps, he could only do like 3 reps of 185 after missing a lift. And then he just didn't want to work out. He didn't want to train, and he just wanted to just quit. Because he was psyched up, and he would do it both max effort days. And then he would be burned out when something went wrong and you miss a lift. You get burned out. Also, when you miss a lift on a classic lift, particularly a conventional deadlift, it's emotionally demoralizing too, because we hold an emotional attachment to that lift. It's better to be calm and be focused from a recovery perspective, from a mental perspective, and from a movement pattern perspective. Either you are strong enough to lift a weight or you aren't, guys. I'm sorry. Either you have the muscle and the intramuscular coordination and the neuromuscular efficiency to lift that weight, or you don't. Squeeze the bar tighter, brace harder. If you feel that, I need a nervous system component, and people will say that, you get that by bracing your core and squeezing the hell out of the bar. Also, you don't need to psych yourself up to get an irradiant effect for your peripheral nervous system. Your setup and tightness and stuff do that. And if you go in calm, you can be focused and be in the moment, and you're less likely to make mistakes also. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.